Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as the.
And welcome to Pucks Across Borders, your daily, I guess not like NHL right now, your Four Nations betting preview show. Great to be back. What a weekend we had. Haven't had a show since our Four Nations preview. Lots and lots to talk about before then, or I guess since then. Also, Canada beating Finland gives us the rematch that we all wanted. I think it's the best thing to happen for this tournament. I think if it was Finland and Sweden in the final, that would be maybe not equally, but I think that would be great. But I think if America's there, Canada's got to be there too. And we get exactly what we asked for. Lots and lots to get into. A crazy Saturday, beautiful day of Four Nations hockey, whether it was Sweden, Finland, and of course, Canada, America. Lots and lots to get to. But first, as always, Andre, how you doing, man? Good to see you. How you feeling, bro? It's a Monday.
It is a Monday. It's a pretty good Monday, though. It is great to see you. Obviously, one game already today. Your boys came out on top. Made it kind of dicey at the end there. They didn't really need to do that. But, you know, Finland, never back down, never surrender. Got another game tonight. It's a great time to be a hockey fan right now. This has been very special.
It's been amazing, and we'll get into all of it. I'll just say, so 4-0 going into the final 7 minutes today. Final score of 5-3. If there's Canadian fans that are concerned about the ending of that game, or American fans who are feeling good about it, oh, look at Canada, almost slipped, we got them. I just want to let everyone know. I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying this. I called Sidney Crosby before the game today. Everyone knows Sydney and I are really close. And I said, listen, Sid the kid, he loves it when I call him that. Sid the kid, he gets a kick out of it. I said, Sid, I got the alternate 7.5 over. So if you guys can just make this a bit interesting, plus 134, make it a bit interesting. And my guy came through, and I'm really, really grateful. I know he watches the show. So Sid the kid, thank you for talking to your boys, helping me out. And he even sealed the deal late to get that over 7.5. So really, really grateful. Really, really grateful for that. So my guy, Sid the kid.
No, you kind of changed my tune on him a little bit. Guy, the IHF doesn't start investigating now.
Yeah, he listen. Yeah, maybe I should clarify the context of all this, but listen, if the powers that be don't understand that I'm joking, that's on them. But or am I joking? It doesn't matter. Really, really great game for Canada, full complete, and I mean, you know, we'll double back and talk about this, but I thought like the real issue with the game on Saturday against the Americans was Americans capitalized on Canada's mistakes, and America didn't make any mistakes. And so in this game today, you saw 40 minutes of mistake-free hockey, and Canada just, you know, doing what they do. They're better, they're faster, they're stronger, they're more skilled, and they did all of that. And in the final minutes, they just, you know, took their foot off the gas. And what we love about, you know, Team Finland and what, you know, hockey teams, why there's so many Finnish players like in the league is this is how they're taught. This is just to keep grinding, keep fighting, keep the game close somehow, some way. This is what it is. So, and I thought it was really cool. Like, everyone's talking about if Canada wins, then Canada goes to the finals. Same thing. in regulation, right? Same thing was true for Finland. If Finland won in regulation, then they go to the finals too. Now, if they were going to come back from a 4-0 deficit in regulation, probably not, but at least that gives them the chance if, Sweden either loses tonight or goes to overtime, then Finland goes in. So there was, stakes were high for both teams. So huge win for Team Canada today. Before we double back and go over the weekend, do you have anything to add on the game today?
No, I loved, again, the stakes were high. That's one of the better parts of a short tournament. Every team was alive today. But particularly for that one, whoever won, at least if they won in regulation, they were in. If they won, they had a really good chance of getting in. Obviously, Canada, better team, jumped out to the lead, like did what they had to do. But Finland, right there, again, all three games, really, they had a chance in the third period. They started the third period against the U.S. It was tight. Obviously, they won an OT against Sweden, the rivalry. And then this one, it was a little too late, but they scored 3 goals. They pulled within 1. They gave themselves a chance to force overtime, gave themselves a chance to move on. So their tournament is over, but I think they put on a hell of a show. Kudos to them.
Yeah.
Canada, I know they almost blew it. They're fine. They're right where they wanted to be. They're right where they needed to be. And I don't think there was ever any panic about that team.
No, and I think it's a good place to be, if you're Canada, and again, this is just my, opinion. We're going to talk about Thursday's game more on Thursday, but I do think that there is, benefit for Canada for losing on Saturday. Is like you have what you need to work on now. You have the film to look on. As far as, Team USA goes, obviously, whatever happens tonight, they haven't really had that moment of that is a glaring hole. Like that is a weakness. That is a problem where Canada has. They beat Sweden in overtime in a game that they should have won, not in overtime. They had an excellent 40 minutes and let that game get super hairy at the end today. And they lost to the U.S. because of a really bad line change and Sidney Crosby with an terrible turnover that cost them 2 goals. Yes, Jordan Bennington, both those goals against the U.S., those goals probably shouldn't go in, but they happened because of bad play by the Canadians. So really encouraging that they have those things to kind of look back on and to correct. And John Cooper, the coach for Canada, joked after. He was like, and now we know we played awful 6-on-5. So now we have something else to look look back at if we're in that position on Thursday. All right, going back to the weekend, we'll quickly talk through Sweden-Finland. Finland's up 2-1, and then Sweden goes up 3-2. Finland ties the game with in the third period. It goes to overtime, and Michael Granlund. That's another thing too. Since I am a self-centered Torontonian, and there's nothing Toronto to really talk about, I'll make it about myself in a different way. The Dallas Stars, who have played in this tournament, have showed out, man. Michael Granlund, 2 goals today within 30 seconds of each other to make this game 4-2 and then 4-3. Esa Lindell is the one who made it 4-1. And then Michael Granlund again with the OT winner on the weekend. I thought that was really fun. Number one, it was 1:00 in the afternoon, which is prime time in Europe. So that I thought was really cool that they did it that way. But also and I was thinking it even today, watching the game, even though at the time when I had this thought, it was 4-0, but all these teams have really good players. Like this is like all of these teams are really good just based on the players that they had. So to watch Sweden versus Finland, it wasn't like the World Juniors where half of these players you're not going to see ever again. This was like these are legitimate hockey teams, and I thought that game between Finland and Sweden was perfect on Saturday afternoon.
Hard agree. That was a phenomenal game from start to finish. You know, and it is like, you know, USA Canada is the rivalry. It's the one everyone talks about. That's rivalry in its own right. And it really delivered. And something I learned from this tournament, and I guess from between Saturday and today, is Granlund is a Finnish legend, apparently.
Yes.
Big goals in every international tournament. Is just constantly doing the thing. That OT winner from Michaela, obviously, to give them the win, give them a chance to, you know, advance and win the whole thing. That was just an incredible game. Now, my newfound allegiance to Sweden didn't pay off immediately, but it is what it is. Especially for a 1:00 game, like you said, it was 7 CET. It was really perfect. And of all the games in this tournament, I would argue very strongly that was the best one from a pure hockey standpoint. Now, maybe not the most entertaining, maybe not the one that drew the most eyeballs. We know what happened Saturday night, but
yeah, we'll talk.
4-3 OT game. It was 1 goal deficit throughout. It was 1 goal or tied throughout. Even in shots, you know, even in hits. It was just very well played. That's what this is about.
100%. And talk about Michael Granlund. If you were a real friend and read my article about the Dallas Stars in this tournament before the puck dropped, then I actually feel very vindicated because, before this tournament, so not including the games that have been played over the last week, I believe in like 61 international games, he has 66 points going into this tournament. And he's not known for scoring goals as far as his professional career goes, but in like international play, it's pretty much split down the middle between goals and helpers. So yeah, huge. And it's weird because, like, you know, in this tournament specifically, he led the team in goals, and you have Aho, you have Barkov, like you have really good goal scorers, at least in the NHL level, like better goal scorers, you know, than Granlund. But something about putting that jersey on just gets him fired up, and it was really fun to watch. And so huge tournament from like both of them. Huge success in that way. Before we move on, this is a perfect segue. Moving on to America versus Canada on Saturday night. Our good buddy Joe, love you, dude. Thanks for chiming in and for tuning in as always. I would just like to say that it's our sport now. This guy has the balls to say so. Listen, dude, there's one more game. You should know better than that, Joe. You should know better than that. You gotta wait, man. Friday show. If you guys win, say what you want to say, but come on, man. We got another game left to play, bro. That's shooting your shot too early, my friend.
Right. Come on. 37 straight cups, 2 consecutive World Juniors. Got Saturday night. Joe, hit the nail on the head. That's why we love you.
All right, so let's get into it. There's a couple other topics that I do want to get to, and I forgot to tell you this, Andre, before the show. So I'm just going to tell you now so you can help me remember as the show goes on. I want to talk about the 10-minute 3-on-3. If you like it, if the NHL should have it, I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about the 3-2-1 point system. If you like that for the NHL. So I do want to talk about that. But let's get to this game first. Canada, USA wins 3-1. 3 fights in the opening 9 seconds of the game. Even if I just say, what did you think about the game? Like, there's so many levels right from the anthems all the way through to the end. There's so much to get to from that game. And once again, if you're watching, thank you everybody, by the way, for those of you watching on Total Apex Media X, or why would you watch on both of them? Although that would be helpful for our views, or Pucks Across Borders YouTube. If you're watching, I know this is already a couple of days old, but I still think it needs to be talked about. So we'll just give you the floor first, man. What did you think of the game? And we can get into different nuances of it as we go along. But what did you think of the game, the fights, the whole deal?
Yeah, there's so many angles, right?
It's crazy.
As far as the game is concerned, the U.S. again fell behind 1-0 pretty early. Nothing you can do about Connor McDavid, though. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
Tied it up. Larkin got the goal in the second, put him ahead, and then, just kind of fended off the rally in the third before Gensel hit the empty netter. It was a pretty even game. I know you see 3-1, not a lot of scoring. I think that's a broader problem for Team Canada in this tournament, at least before today, was the offense was because it wasn't bad against Sweden by any means, obviously. But they kind of blitzed them early and then there was nothing. They kind of did the same thing today. And then you look at the USA game, they scored once in the first, like 5.5 minutes in, and then didn't score again. After that game, I believe Binnington was tied for the second most points on the team. Maybe it was third. So they're obviously a small sample size, but scoring has been a bit of a concern for this Canada team. I think that's probably the biggest part of this story as far as what happened on the ice. It was very physical, though. Crosby took a shot. Hughes took a shot. Not a lot of penalties. I mean, not a lot of power plays. There were
the whole tournament
penalties, but
yeah, like the whole tournament hasn't had a lot of penalties. Yeah. Like the whole tournament's been pretty clean for the most part.
Haven't had a ref show, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't think it hit the same if you're talking about pure on-ice product as Finland, Sweden earlier in the game, but with everything around it before, very shortly after the puck drop, obviously the hype, the rivalry, I think it really delivered, and especially with what it was compared to directly, it was a slam dunk. They dunked all over the NBA on Saturday night.
Man,
the fact that it was a tight game for the most part, the fact that it started the way it started, the fact that there was so much energy before it started. Shout out to you French people in Quebec, or not Quebec, in Montreal. Yeah, that was that. The NHL had a huge win this weekend, and USA Canada was the feather in the cap, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's funny because as I've said on the show over the last couple of weeks, I'm living like in between places, and so while our new house gets ready, I'm living in a basketball house. So TVs all lined up on the wall, and while I'm watching Canada USA, I got the all-star skills comp to the left of me, and I don't even know what I'm watching. Like the 3-point I find interesting just because it's a 3-point and there's nothing fancy or special. It's just shooting threes, and I personally love that. But other than that, I'm like watching like 5 attempts to dunk a ball, and I'm like, what am I even watching? Half these players, I don't even know who these people are. But anyway, yeah, dude, there's just so much about Saturday night. I feel like, and this maybe felt more in Canada, and I think almost for sure it's felt more in Canada. And we're not going to get like political about this. We're not talking about all that nonsense, but if you know what's going on in politics right now between America and Canada, Canadians are not happy right now, right? With all the tariffs and all the talk of the 51st state. And listen, again, whatever side of the aisle you're on, I'm not talking about all that. I'm just saying the fact is Canadians up here are not thrilled as a whole with comments coming from the White House these days. That's just the way that it is. And I'm not talking one way or the other. So for Canada, and plus, like, from a pure sports perspective, we truly feel like this is our game. Like, get your hands off of it. We're going to show you. We beat you in the gold medal in 2010, 2002. Like, this is our, did we play America in gold medal 2014? We've won so many. I just forget who we play against.
No, I think that was Sweden.
It was Sweden. You're right. 3-0. 9 a.m. First time I felt okay cracking a beer at 9 a.m. It felt right. There were other moments where I did that. And yeah. Well, no, it wasn't the first time I did it. It was the first time that it felt right. You know what I mean? Other times it was probably not my best decision, but that day it felt okay. But so anyway, as a game itself, the 3 fights right off the bat was just incredible. It was amazing. Whether you want fighting in the game, don't want it fighting in the game, I thought it was awesome for a couple different reasons. Number one, this is North American rules. You know, this isn't the IIHF. This isn't Olympics. This is North American rules. Next year in the Olympics, you're not going to see some of the best players on both teams fighting in the first 10 seconds because they're going to get kicked out of the game, right? So I thought, hey, if these two teams are going to fight, this is the place to do it. I wish I could have bet on if there was going to be a fight because I probably could have on certain books, but I couldn't find it because I did think there was going to be a fight. Did I think there would be 3 in the first 9 seconds? Turns out, no, I did not think that. So I thought that was really cool. The other part of it that I thought was great from the USA perspective is I would argue, and again, this is all opinion, but I would argue that skill-wise, Canada is the better team skill-wise. But the way that the rosters were constructed, there's no question that America has the tougher team. So from a game perspective, I thought it was brilliant by the US. Let's show these guys right now that we are more physical, we are tougher, and this is not going to be a skill versus skill type of game. And I thought as the game went on, Canada did have their big hits, but overall, like, the US showed their body, man. Like, the US, like, they were laying massive hits all night long. And I thought that the emotion, I feel like why the rest, and I heard people the next day saying this is one of the best games ever. I don't know if I would go that far. I feel like it was a very good game, but I felt like the second period in particular kind of tapered off because of how intense that first period was. Like, that first period was so intense that it's impossible to keep that up for 60 minutes. So I thought that was really, really impressive, like, by the US, just to kind of, show their hand. Like, we're more physical than you are, and we're going to show you right away. And I also thought, as I said before, that, maybe if certain mistakes weren't made, maybe America, wins regardless. I just thought that both of those goals were because of blatant Canadian mistakes that just can't happen when the other team is literally full of all-stars. And I thought that's what the US did perfectly, was they didn't get, too carried away. They showed their hand with their physicality. They let the game come to them, where that one, I think it was the first goal by the US, that one line change by Canada was just awful. like awful. I know it was Drew Doughty and somebody else. But you got two guys coming off the ice as America is coming. It was awful. And then the second goal, I believe it was the second goal on that Sidney Crosby giveaway. Just, two mistakes that just can't happen against a team, like I said, literally full of all-stars. Now, the last thing that I want to say, and there's kind of two parts to this. So, like the anthem and the booing, right? So I want to talk about this. As I look on who is watching, the majority of our viewers right now are from Total Apex Media. And I'm assuming that most of you watching are from the USA. So I just want to talk about this because this isn't just happening in Four Nations. This is happening in like normal hockey games. It's happening in basketball games. In Toronto, and then hockey games across the country. All the other, not just Toronto hockey teams, but in games across the country. Number one, I thought that it was hilarious and so well set up by the Bell Center, whoever's in charge of this stuff. They have to say before the American anthem, please refrain from booing and be respectful of our, brother or our like neighbors to the south. You knew it didn't matter. They were all going to boo. They're booing the whole anthem. And then the guy who's singing the Canadian anthem goes, I want to hear you all sing the anthem. And so you just had 2 minutes of like booing the American anthem. The guy says, "Oh, Canada," and now you have 20,000 people screaming the entire Canadian anthem. As far as like Canadian like vibes go, I was at my mom's like when the game started, and I was driving back to where I am now as the anthems. So I'm listening to this on the radio and like just getting chills. There's no other senses to rely on, right? That's why radio is the best. All you got is just to listen. And it was dope. Like just to hear 20,000 people scream the Canadian national anthem. It was awesome. When it comes to the booing of the American national anthem, it's driving me crazy. Might be a bit dramatic, but I don't like it. I hate it. Because, and this is just my opinion again. Other people might see it differently. It's fine. Number one, I was born here. My mom's from here. I'm American. Like my dad's from America. I have tons of family like in the US. Majority of them served or are currently serving in the military, whether it's the Navy or the Air Force. I've spent a lot of time in the US. I love America. But I'm also from here and I was raised here and I've lived here for my whole life. So I would guess I'm like more Canadian, but I am also, from the US as well. This is purely political. Like the booing of the anthem is because you have a guy saying things, and it's not just a guy. I understand who he is. It's not just a guy, but like, I just wish that Canadians, when they hear the American national anthem, would show who we are and cheer as loud as possible. Because it's nothing about America. We love America. We love Americans. We love America. This is purely because some guy says that he wants us to be a part of them. And I understand that that's not nothing. I understand this is a big deal. I understand the importance of the tariffs and all this. I understand that. We're not a political show. I'm not getting into it. Also, if I pretended to actually understand half of this, I'd be a liar. So I'm not going to get into it that way. I just don't think it's necessary to boo the anthem every single time. It just, I don't know, man. Like, am I being too dramatic about it? I just feel like I understand it. I know why it's happening. But as a Canadian myself, it's like, this is nothing to do with America. There's no need to boo America. We love America, and quite frankly, we need America for many, many things. So let's stop acting like we don't need them, because we do. And it drives me nuts, man. Now, on Saturday in particular, it added to the vibe. Like, it added to the vibe. There's no way around it. Like, on Saturday in particular, and if they were booing the American anthem, and I know that it's a lot to do with the military and respect for our nations and whatever, but if they were booing America strictly because you're in our town now and we're going to beat the crap out of you, I maybe would feel a little bit different about it. But I don't know, man. Just seeing it night after night, no matter the sport, it just, I don't know, man. I don't like it.
No, no. As an American, why? First of all, we're brothers. America, Canada, we've been brothers for what,
Yes.
160 years, just about. Canada got independence in the 1860s, I believe. Yeah,
Yep.
we're brothers. It's all love, and there's a reason this hasn't happened before. There's a reason it's happening now. Um, I I fully support it. I think you should make as much noise as possible. I don't think you should be the bigger man for this. I don't think you should let it go. Um, I
It's
you know
fair.
I don't think Poland would have been quiet during the Berlin Olympics. I don't think Ukraine would have been quiet in 2014 during the Olympics. Obviously, this is completely different. There are voices to be heard this time around, but uh, you should exercise them. You should use them uh, 100%. So I get what you're saying, and it's not towards Americans. It's towards the people
Yeah.
Americans put in power, whether you agree with that or not. Uh, Unfortunately, they do represent us, so we have to take the brunt of it. It's the people that get it, get it. The people that don't, they're gonna have their feelings hurt. Um, go for it. The bad the bad guys deserve to get booed, and Canada wasn't booing us for 150 years beforehand. At least not when it came to hockey. Well, at least not when it came to the anthem in hockey or the NBA or the NHL or whatever. Um, so it is what it is. It'll happen. We'll see what happens on Thursday. If O Canada gets booed, that's going to be very stupid and brain dead. But
Yeah.
hey, it's a rivalry. Hopefully, it stays a rivalry between two independent nations.
Yeah, you know what, man? I think that's really well said, and I don't disagree with you on that. Like, I don't disagree with you that people should be making their voices heard. This I don't know, man. Like, sports is just something, and again, like, I don't disagree. And I also love this conversation because you and I, we talk every day, but we actually haven't talked about this. So I think this is a really healthy conversation, is that, like, I sports is just supposed to bring us together, and let's just leave. Like, that's the beautiful thing about sports, man, is that no matter what you're going through, no matter what is happening in your life, those 3 hours are just time that just brings us together. And so I don't know. That's why I just don't like it, but I understand 100% what you're saying. As far as in Boston on Thursday, I have a feeling that Americans are just gonna cheer the daylights out of it. Like, I have a feeling they're just, once Canada starts, I have a feeling that US that the American fans. I also think there's going to be a lot of Canadian fans as well. Like, I think, like, Boston's pretty close to Canada, and I think, like, specifically the East Coast. So I do think there's going to be a lot of Canadian fans there, but I think American fans are just going to go nuts for the Canada anthem. And it's like, maybe half of it is like, oh yeah, you want to boo us? Watch this. Just, yeah, or the other half is like, hey, no matter what, like, we got you. I think, yeah. But anyway, I just want to talk about it. It's a thing that's happening in sports every single night. And I felt like, with the eyeballs that game got on Saturday night, I felt like it had to at least be addressed. Before we get into tonight's game, well, is there anything else to add from from the Canada game, from Saturday as a whole, the Canada and US game, I mean. Anything that we didn't mention that you wanted to touch on before we move
I think
on?
just something generally from the tournament and something that I think the NHL has been flirting with bringing back lately. Well, not just this in particular, but the color on color jerseys. You got the blue versus the red, blue versus gold, red
Yes.
versus yellow.
I didn't
Yeah,
even notice
it
that.
looks really
Yeah.
good. I did hear that, and it's a rumor. Might not have any weight. It might not come to pass. I've been hearing though that the NHL is considering giving teams the power to choose their uniform combinations for at least for home games, kind of similar to the NFL. So we could be seeing whites at home again. We could be seeing color on color again. Like a Toronto versus Detroit blue versus red. Those always look so good.
I would
Um,
love that.
So yeah, that's something I noticed with this tournament too. I noticed it from the first game, like the red against the yellow. It looked really good, and with the NHL potentially looking to give teams more autonomy for what they wear every single night, bringing back the home whites. Yeah, really dope. I love seeing color against color when it works because it always looks good.
Yeah, that's really cool. I never even thought about that. I didn't think about it for the Sweden Canada game because I know that there are Swedish jerseys where it's blue with the yellow crowns, but you almost never see it. Like for the most part, Sweden always has just the one jersey. As far as I can remember, like maybe there are like recent games where they haven't, but for the most part, I think Sweden just is like, whatever, man, we're yellow. Like, do whatever you want. We're yellow all the time. So I never thought about it for that tournament or for that game, the opening game. And then for American Canada, I actually didn't even like clue into that. But yeah, you're right. It looks dope. But at the same time, I love me a white jersey. So I don't mind it as well. All right, a couple things to get into here before puck drop for Sweden USA. While in the points column, it might not matter. It's still going to be a really good game. It's the last round robin game. I don't think anybody is going to mail it in. The only thing that's different, America does have Jake Ottinger in the net tonight, which I think on the one hand, you have 2 days off beforehand. So like, I don't think Connor Hellebuck needs rest, but I do think it's cool in a game that doesn't really matter to let somebody else take the net. I think that's really cool. And as a Dallas Stars writer, it gives me a little bit more content to write about as I write about all the Dallas Stars in this tournament overnight tonight. So it gives me a little bit more to talk about, which is always fun. The one thing, just to double back, just as I was talking, I just thought of this and I wanted to throw this out here real quick. The one thing I will say, just to add to the Canada and US game on Saturday night, was you talked about this with the defense on Canada. And I never really thought about this because both Canada and America are just so deep that injuries, it's not the same as Finland's blue line was decimated and they didn't have the bodies to really replace them. Not having Cale Makar and not having Pietrangelo, who they haven't had him for the whole tournament, but not having Cale Makar on Saturday really showed itself. And I thought, Thomas Harley, another Dallas Stars player, terrific defenseman, really good defenseman. No one is Cale Makar except for Quinn Hughes. Like those two are their own thing. So not having Cale Makar in the lineup on Saturday, I thought really, really showed itself. And he played today, didn't look dominant by any means, but if he has a couple, more days rest and he plays on Thursday night, I think that's a huge, huge upgrade, obviously, and a huge benefit for Canada. So I just wanted to kind of throw that in there before we moved on. Before we get to Canada-Sweden betting or America-Sweden betting preview tonight, a couple cool little things that have been talked about in the NHL sphere for the last 5-ish years or so. that they're trying out in this tournament. And I want to get your perspective, Andre, on what you think about it. The first one is the 10-minute 5-on-5 or 10-minute 3-on-3. The argument against this for so long is that that's just too long to have only 3-on-3, and you're going to tire the guys out. They're going to be hurt. Turns out, in the 2 overtimes that we've seen so far, nobody died. Nobody got hurt. And in fact, it was really entertaining. And in my opinion, the less shootouts, the better. So if you're going to do a 10-minute 3-on-3, the odds of you going to a shootout are probably super slim. I've loved it. I thought it was great, and I think the NHL should do it. The odds of it actually going a full 10 minutes are probably like not that good, man. I think that for the most part, you're going to see this game over by the 6-7 minute mark of a 3-on-3 overtime. The more tired people get, you're going to see the same skaters go out there over and over. The more tired people get, the more opportunities open up. I thought it was great, the 2 games that we've seen, and I think the NHL should pounce on this immediately.
Oh, yeah. Most shootouts now 3-on-3 most of them don't go past 5 minutes. So a 10 minutes is probably not. I think if they do implement 10-minute 3-on-3, which I would say I'd support for the most part. I'd say get rid of the shootout entirely. Just bring back a tie, I guess. I know that's kind of anticlimactic, but it's going to happen a handful of times a year in an 82-game season. Big whoop. But 3-on-3, like especially for that long, I understand the fatigue factor, and I was hesitant at first. But you got to think, at that point, someone's going to commit a penalty, just try to prevent a goal. Like people are going to do things. They're going to take risks to try to get that extra point. So I'm all for it. I don't think we're going to see many games end after 10 minutes of 3-on-3, and it's still going to be tied. So go right ahead. I support it.
Yeah, that's a really good point and a really good segue actually into the next topic, which is the 3-2-1 point system. For those of you who don't know, 3 points for a regulation win in 60 minutes, 2 points for an overtime win, 1 point for an overtime loss. The reason why I don't think they'll bring the tie back is because if you have 2 points for a win and then 1 point for an overtime loss or a tie, there's no real difference between an overtime loss and a tie. It's you get 1 point regardless. And I don't really love that. I feel like there should be either 1 point for a tie and no points for a loss, even if it is in overtime. I don't know. Like, I feel like there should be some difference between the two. I haven't thought about this very hard, literally since you just talked about it now. This is my first time really thinking through it. So I haven't thought about it a lot. I think for a tournament like this, I think 3-2-1 is perfect. Perfect for a tournament this short where you need that kind of some sort of separation. You can't have everybody just tied for points, right? I thought it was that for a tournament of this style, 4 teams, 3 games each, I thought it was perfect. For the NHL, I think that like we're going to get back. I don't know if you know this, Andre, but there's still a whole like third of a season left in the NHL to talk about. And the races that we're getting, especially in the Eastern Conference, are because of the 2-1 point system. Like that's why we're getting these races. If it's 3-2-1, we're not getting the same races that we're getting now. I don't think. I think it's going to be, I don't know how much would change as far as who makes it into the playoffs. I just think that the point differential between the playoff teams and the non-playoff teams are going to be like way more dramatic. And I think on the one hand, you want the good and the bad teams to be separated. Like we talked about last year's Washington Capitals, not a playoff team. But so anyway, like you get my point. I just think in a 82 game season, there would be way too much separation and not enough like races. Like I don't even have it. I don't even have it in front. I'm just looking. Like, yeah, I don't have it in front of me. Like how many overtime wins each team has. I just have the standings and the overtime losses. But like, Florida, Toronto, like forget about even just the playoffs, like the division races, like Florida, Toronto, they're 3 points apart right now. If I don't know who has the more like overtime wins, but would that be a 10-point difference if the 3-2-1 system? In the Pacific, Edmonton, Vegas, 72 points, and the Kings have 65. Now, on the same token, if there's 3 points for a win, then maybe you catch up a little bit faster. I don't know. I think they should leave it the way it is. I don't want to see this in the NHL. It's just how I feel about it. But I think for a tournament like this, it was a perfect idea.
I think just in general, I prefer the 3-2-1. And I understand that the loser's point makes things more interesting. But at the same time, it's straight up inflation. It's just creating a point out of thin air, really. It's artificial. And it does makes these races more dramatic. I will see that. And it gives teams hope that sometimes shouldn't have it. It gives franchises an identity. If you're talking about the Islanders, the OT losses are what they are. But the Penguins. Let's look at the Penguins. Let's look at Sidney Crosby's team. 23, 25, and 9. Right?
Yeah.
In a 3-2-1, what is that? 69 plus 9 OT losses. Well, I'm assuming all those wins are in regulation. They're not, so I probably shouldn't do that. Correct. Excuse me. The point being, they're 23 and 34. They're not good, but because they have 9 losers points, they're still in the playoff race. You can then look at a team. Let's go to the West. Utah, 24, 23, and 9. That's 24 and 32. But you know what? There's only one team standing between them and the last wildcard team, the Canucks. With 57 points, they are 6 points out of a playoff spot. It's because of OT losses. For better or worse, it makes the season more dramatic. It gives teams hope that they shouldn't have. But as I'm talking through it, I like the 3-2-1 more in general. It's more fair. It's more realistic. It's what the NHL used to have. But we all complain in all these other sports how many teams sell and quit. It's like, talking about basketball, you talk about baseball, you talk about football. Not football, that's a bad one. But basketball and baseball, teams just tank. Teams aren't trying, sell at the deadline.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. It's better for teams. It's better for markets when they do have hope of making the playoffs. Because when you make the playoffs, you have a chance of winning the championship. Even if you're facing, the 07 Patriots, even if you're facing the 19 Tampa Bay Lightning, whatever team you want to use for this example, all the best teams, quote unquote, regular season teams to ever hit the playoffs in any sport failed to win a championship. When you make the playoffs, you have a shot at a championship. Having better access to the playoffs does make a better product, even if it's a bit of a lie in that.
Yeah.
So I like 3-2-1 more. I probably will complain about the loser's point forever, but I'm going to turn a blind eye to it because you know what? I see the vision and I get it.
Yeah. Dude, like to your point, like the Florida Panthers, 2 years ago, they ended up losing to Vegas, but they were awful for the majority of the year. Coach was fired. Paul Maurice comes in. They squeaked into the playoffs like in the last day, I think, of the regular season. I'm pretty sure there was like Pittsburgh lost to Chicago and there was like all this like shenanigans and Pittsburgh squeaked in, right? Or sorry, Florida squeaked in. And I remember when they beat Boston and uh Toronto beat Tampa Bay in 6 games and Florida beat Boston in 7 games. So after game 6 of Toronto Tampa, going into game 7, this entire market was, we want Florida. We want Florida. And they beat us in 5 games. Like, now I'm not going to get into that Toronto or whatever, but that team ended up being a horse. Then they got through the first round, squeaked into the playoffs. So to your point, man, once you get in, anything can happen. Didn't work out that way for the Capitals last year, but that's okay. All right, man. Let's get into the game tonight, like I've already done throughout the show. Anything else that you want to touch on? Little tidbits from the tournament or anything that you want to talk about before we get to the game tonight?
There's a few subplots I want to talk about for this game, but nothing else about any of the other games. So
Got you. All right. Well, then let's dive into it tonight. Sweden against USA, thanks to Canada's win today. On the point column, this game is irrelevant. However, still international hockey, still best on best, and 2 teams who want to win this hockey game. Sweden plus 168 now, was plus 180. That has swung dramatically, plus 168. USA is minus 205. I guarantee you, if this game mattered, these odds would be way different. I don't know how different, but a lot different. I promise you. USA minus 1.5 is plus 118. Plus 1.5 for Sweden is minus 144. The over 6.5 plus 106. And the under is minus 130. Andre, you said you got subplots. Go through it. We'll talk about this game. Just want to remind everybody that this 4 Nations betting preview brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off tons and tons of cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. That's up to 60% off selected cards across the First Round Collectibles store. So go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code SportsAddict for 10% off your order. And if you forget already what the promo code is, it is right there. So check them out, support them. They support us, support them. Great people over there. And of course, Total Apex Sports. Thank you for having us on board. Lots of great content at totalapexsports.com. All right, Andre, USA, Sweden. What are your thoughts on this game tonight?
Yeah. Well, the obvious, the elephant in the room, US is in the championship already. Nothing really to play for tonight except working out a few kinks. I guess given the pro-American crowd in Boston a show. But that's about it. Sweden, I mean, they're out of it. I guess they're also playing for nothing, but they want to leave here with at least 1 win. There's a little bit of pride on the line, right? So that's the first thing off the bat. Second thing, Linus Ullmark probably going to start in net for Sweden. Jeremy Swayman probably going to start in net for America. At least you would hope, or not hope. Or not start. I said start. He's probably going to play tonight for America. I think those two going head to head, obviously former Bruins teammates, the best of buddies that are no longer together. I think that would be great for the crowd there. I think it'd be good for them, see them, maybe hug it out one last time since Ullmark is now a Senator. That's something I'm hoping for and looking for in this game. I know Ottinger is starting, but let's get Swayman in some action. Let's see Swayman and Allmark across from each other in front of Boston. That would be nice. The other thing that I really want to see, that I know Mark is probably really hoping for, if Brady is out there watching, I know he's really hoping for it. JT Miller and Elias Pettersson on the ice with each other. Infamously, the two beefing on the Canucks that imploded the team midseason. They're back in a playoff spot for the time being. JT Miller is now a New York Ranger again. Pettersson has not been traded, but they're going to be sharing the ice tonight. We saw Miller drop the gloves against Canada. Are JT Miller and Elias Pettersson going to fight? Are they going to duke it out like men? Are they just going to, leave it all out there? That's what I'm hoping to see. This is a chance to do it on the grand stage, and we've obviously seen Miller willingly drop the gloves already in this tournament. So Miller versus Pettersson is my second subplot behind the Swim and Allmark. Hopefully they are across from each other at some point during this game in Boston. As far as what I'm picking here, I think I'm just going to roll with Sweden. I think they just really desperately want and need a win here for the pride. I know the U.S. is the better team. I know the U.S. has the unofficial home ice advantage, but this game for them, as you can tell by their goaltending decision, is about getting right for the championship game. They have their mind on bigger things, and they should. I think Sweden comes out on top. It's probably going to be a tight one, but I am rolling with the Swedish money line here.
Yeah, that's really interesting, bro. If JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, if they fight, dude, oh man, that would be just content king. I can't see Pettersson. I can't see him fighting, man. I mean, you know this better than I would. I mean, I follow the league, but you specifically follow the Rangers much closer. I know JT Miller has some grit, but I was a bit surprised to see him drop the gloves. I don't know, that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. The fact that the Kachuk brothers were both in the box at the same time should be a surprise to nobody, considering as professionals, they've never played together. And on international level, they've never played together. So I thought that was hilarious, but not a surprise. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm all the way there with you. I like it. I don't love the odds. Plus 1.5 at minus 144. I don't like the odds, but I do like it. I don't like the States minus one. The thing is, to me, is like you said, I don't know if Swayman is going to get in the net tonight. He might. I do know that Jake Ottinger is starting. I saw that earlier today. So I don't know if Swayman is going to get a chance to get in tonight. If Allmark or if Ottinger is in net for the whole game, then the goaltending battle 1000% sides with the U.S. And Ottinger is going to try his absolute best tonight. I have no doubt about it. So that's the one thing that kind of makes me eerie. The plus 180 obviously is terrific value. There would be much more value if this game mattered, but I do like obviously the plus 180 play. I think plus 1.5 for a parlay. I think that's a good move. I just think Jake Ottinger is just such a good goaltender, and Allmark is a great goaltender in his own right. But I just trust that goaltending side for the U.S. way more than I do in Sweden. On a prop kind of perspective, two players that have been really quiet throughout the tournament that I cheer for on a regular basis, Austin Matthews and Willie Nylander. Both those guys kind of have been non-factors. I don't want to say non-factors, but at least on the scoreboard, they've been somewhat non-factors. USA plus 170 for Austin Matthews to get a goal tonight, plus 240 for Nylander to get a goal tonight. 3 shots on goal. Philip Forsberg is minus 125. I think that is terrific value. That we all know that guy loves to shoot the puck. And for a point, tonight. Where are we here to get a point? Lucas Raymond on the Swedish side of things. He is minus 111 to get a point tonight. And I really like that play as well. Now, full disclosure, this is not from me. I want to make sure I get this guy so I can give him the props that he deserves. At Matty Covers, he's a handicapper that I follow on Twitter. At Matty Covers has a really fun parlay for tonight's game. Austin Matthews and Nylander to both score. Brady Tkachuk 3+ shots on goal. Jack Eichel to get an assist, and Lucas Raymond to get 1 point is plus 4,084. So that's a fun little same game parlay. There's no sides. You don't got to worry about who wins. It's just pure entertainment. I think that's a really fun, kind of, how many legs is that? 5-leg parlay. All right, moving on to our best bets, brought to you by, again, First Round Collectibles. Promo code Sports Addict for 10% off your order on regular priced and sales priced items. That's up to 60% off selected cards on the First Round Collectibles store. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code Sports Addict for 10% off your order. Firstroundcollectibles.com, promo code Sports Addict. What do you got, bro? Your best bet. I know we don't fully see eye to eye on the result, but hey, man, if you want to throw out a Swedish money line, you go for it, dude. What do you see in tonight's game for your? I was
actually thinking something completely different. I'm kind of curious what your best bet is going to be, and if it involves Nylander. Because I was thinking about the little team pride tonight. You know, there's 4 Rangers on the American team. There's Mika Zibanejad on the Swedish team. I was thinking about taking one of them. You know, maybe a Mika Zibanejad point. He did score a goal against Finland. He is on that top line. Maybe Adam Fox 2+ shots. There's a few places I've been thinking about going tonight. I know I picked the Sweden money line. I picked it pretty confidently, but I do like the puck line more. I just like the value in the money line a lot more, especially in a game where I'm not really convinced. I know the U.S. says they're going to come out and play and blah, blah, blah. I'm not really convinced they're going to be that, pressed about anything tonight. So I'm definitely taking a look at those props, and I'm leaning towards, I need to pull up one thing real quick before I lock it in. Okay. And that's cemented it. Mika Zibanejad 1+ point is going to be my best bet. He has, obviously he scored a goal last game, but he's on that top line. He's going to get plenty of opportunity, and he's playing a bunch of guys that he knows very well and know him very well. I think that'll help him out. I think he knows how they're going to try to attack him. It could be either JT Miller, Vincent Trocheck, Chris Kreider, or Adam Fox. I think those are guys where he's like, okay, I've seen you before. I'm comfortable here. So I'm going to take Mika Zibanejad to pick up a point for Sweden.
Absolutely love it. I do think we are going to do a little Swedish parlay here, which, if I'm not mistaken, was the same thing we did for the Canada game, if I remember that correctly, for Canada, Sweden last week. I'm kind of torn between the two. Philip Forsberg minus 125 for 3+ shots, and Lucas Raymond plus whatever that was, minus 111 for a point for Lucas Raymond. I think it was minus 111. But because we already got a point for Zibanejad, 3+ shots for Philip Forsberg. The guy is a shooter, loves to shoot the puck. He'll be on the top 6 up front, and I think that they're going to do everything they can tonight to win this hockey game, and I expect him to get a ton of pucks on the net. I do love William Nylander for an anytime goal. I don't love specific scorers just for the fact that Jake Ottinger is in the net. I do think they're going to score, and I like the Zibanejad point. But like William Nylander for a point, where was it? William Nylander for a point is minus 154. So I way prefer the value for Zibanejad, and I like minus 125 for Philip Forsberg. My brain just fell off. Philip Forsberg to get 3+ shots on goal. Now for the family play, do you want to go Sweden plus 1.5, or is there something else that you're feeling?
I locked in Sweden plus 1.5 before you even said anything. So
absolutely love it. What do you got for odds over there?
Forsberg 3+ shots. I minus 145. I have Zibanejad picking up a point at plus 110. I have Sweden plus 1.5. That puck line at minus 142. That parlay for me is plus 365.
Oh, edge me out by just a little bit. Hold on a sec. It just went away on my screen. Give me 2 seconds. Shoot, where are we here? Sorry, guys. Give me a sec. Okay. Yeah, Zibanejad 1+ point, Philip Forsberg 3+ shots, Sweden plus 1.5, plus 357. So you edge me out there just a little bit. I just want to see something real quick. Oh man, where is it? I had a 30% profit boost, but it went away. So never mind. I was going to say, if you have a profit boost, a lot of these profit boosts, you have to have 4+ legs. If you do have a profit boost, no matter what your sportsbook is, I use a lot of them, but more commonly use FanDuel. I really like the under tonight, which is something we didn't talk about. I really like the under 6.5. I think both goaltending matchups are really, really good. And I do think it's going to be a lower scoring game. So under 6.5 is minus 130. And so if you have a profit boost, I really like that one to be the 4th leg of the parlay. Awesome. Great stuff. We're going to be back. We still, full disclosure, let you behind the curtain. We got to discuss if we're going to be back both Tuesday and Wednesday, but we are going to be back at least one of the next couple days. And we're going to get into other stuff around the NHL. On Saturday night, the NHL is back in action. So we're going to talk about some other stuff, other storylines that we're seeing from around the league. And then, of course, Thursday is it's weird, man, because they get a trophy, but they also get gold medals. Let's talk about this for a sec. Do you like that they get gold medals?
Not a big fan.
I don't really like it either. And I feel silly for not liking it because who cares? Like, I just feel like I have to be upset about something. If things are going too well in my life, I feel like I need to get mad about something or sabotage it in some way. You know what I mean? But, I don't really like it. I don't know. It's like, just give them a trophy. Why do we need gold medals? I don't know.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think it's going to be weird. I think the ceremony is going to be weird for getting a gold medal for a four team tournament. I don't know. It's going to be weird, but we will be back for sure. So one of the days, like one or both of the next couple of days, and we'll be back for sure on Thursday around the same time to give a preview and prediction for Canada versus America. I think this is the right final. If you had a Canada-America final ticket at plus 130, then congratulations. Good for you. We're all happy for you over here. And then we'll be back on Friday. We're going to break down the Thursday night game. We're going to talk about it. And again, I haven't talked to Andre about this, but the NHL is back on Saturday. So maybe we'll give you some picks for Saturday's games on Friday as well. Everybody, whether you're watching on Total Apex Sports or on our own personal YouTube, we appreciate you. Post Run Collective with promo code Sports Addict, 10% off. We appreciate them. We will see you next time.